So started the recording, and then we got a half a minute here, 9 o'clock, so we're on time. So I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody, and then if you need to speak, then just go ahead and hold on a second. Let's see. Mute. So, nope, get it out. Okay. So let me text. It was giving feedback. So anyway, so let's get going. We start off with wins, right? Productive agent call. So we start off with wins. Who's got wins? I saw, I don't know who all's on the call. I got a bunch of numbers. I don't recognize the numbers anymore. We got 3 viewer 7, so I'll know what's going on there. So tell us some wins.
This is Amy.
Go ahead, Amy.
The buyer contract I got signed last week, we put an offer on a house yesterday.
Sweet. We like that. We like hearing about the buyer agency. And where did the buyer come from?
SOI.
SOI. We love hearing about buyer agency, and then we love hearing taking offers. Oh, I just saw you, Amy. I saw a text. So anyway, anybody else have some wins?
Hey, Rob, Jesse.
Hey, Jesse. There you go. I wasn't sure if that was your number down there. I did see some...
I'm viewer 7 with the 3. I don't know what I did.
Yeah. So...
But anyways, we had an open house on Saturday. We had about 40 people come, and we brought a lender there as well. This is the first time we did that, and we ended up getting 1 new client as well as 2 people reach out to our lender. So overall, it was great. The house is also going under contract with multiple offers, so it was a great Saturday.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
40 people, picked up some business, got the house sold. So got to love that. Had a lender out there busting it out with you. That's awesome. Got nothing makes me happier than getting some of these affiliate businesses that we feed get them out there working. It's like, hey, especially like, lenders. I mean, I always pick on lenders, but it's when they go talk with a buyer, no matter how, you just got to train your lender to say, look, when you talk to a buyer, ask them if they want to finance a closing cost. Don't tell them that the seller will pay it, but you ask them if they want to finance it, and that way, and we could show them how to finance it, because all they ever hear when they come there is that the seller's going to pay their closing costs, and that's not a fact, and in a very competitive market, that makes it a challenge. So, great job, Jesse, and I did see some buyers, Repsies come flying across the emails today as you were cleaning up from the weekend or last week and getting your business caught up. Anybody else want to share some wins?
Well, I'll share some wins. Oh, go ahead.
Go, Robin. Mine's not really a win. So go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I've been working with some buyers that would sell their house if they found another house, but they were super picky, which is fine. But I've been working with them about 6 months, and we finally found them a house this week. So got that under contract, and we're getting their house ready to list week after next. So kind of cool, because I didn't know if that one was ever going to come together.
And where did you find them?
They're SOI.
SOI, got it.
They came from a previous sale. Yeah.
Got it. So is that Danada was trying to chime in there without a win?
Yeah. I mean, it's a win in one way. We were found a house yesterday, put in an offer, and we were one of 7, and we ended up being the strongest, highest offer, except for one thing, and that is somebody that was able to put down more money. We couldn't do anything about that, but they chose to buy the house as is, and this home was
Who's that? Your buyer, you mean?
Yeah, I have a buyer, so a different buyer chose to buy the home as is.
I see.
I could see some issues with the home, like a bubble of paint in the corner of one room where you touch it and you know water's going to come pouring out, that kind of stuff, and railing coming off, coming downstairs. The house was built in 1998, so,
21 years old, yeah.
Issues, and so I didn't want to buy it as is. What's your feeling on that? So we lost out to the house because it's a single woman in the home that's selling it. And what's your feeling on buying houses as is in a multiple offer situation?
Well, it's the condition of the market. It boils down to number one, does the buyer have the wherewithal to make repairs? That's the one question. That's really the first question. The second question I would ask is, was it worth the price that you were getting it for? Just because it needs repairs doesn't mean it wasn't a good value.
True. So if you
without those answers, I don't have an answer. I have questions.
There it is.
Okay. And if you buy a house as is,
which, by the way, every house is as is because that's the way the REPSI's written.
Oh, that's true. But so
doesn't mean you can't negotiate, but that you're buying it as is.
Okay. So if they don't have that, if it's not contingent on due diligence, can they still change their mind about buying the house if they find some issues, if they do have an inspection and decide?
Well, they can always use the finance clause.
Oh, that's true. Just use that.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's a technique to use. Remove the inspection, but keep the finance clause, and just use it as your. I mean, is it a little shifty? Yeah, but that's the way it is in multiple offers. Should you do it? Well, is it? You should follow all lawful instructions from your client.
Yeah, there you go. I like that.
Well, that's the law. The law says you are to be. There's an obedience clause in the law of a real estate agent, and that said, you are to follow all lawful instructions of your client. I mean, so anyway, any other wins? Nobody? All right. So next item is struggles. So anybody have any struggles that you're dealing with? Any objections, things like that? And, you're just not being able to get a handle on things, whatever. So I know, Robin, you were going to tell a story, but now you have to tell it. It's one of those ones, I don't know if I should tell you. Well, the moment one says that, it's like this unwritten law. Now you have to tell us.
It's so terrible.
So give us the short version.
So
again, we don't want to be doing a one-upmanship on who's got their situation.
Well, Rob always likes to point out all my wins, and I'm very lucky that I get some wins, but man, when I fail, apparently I failed badly. But the thing is, I didn't fail, but it still hurts. I had clients home on the market. I think it was on the market a total of 63 days, I want to say. I had only done a 4-month list, so I was really generous in my list time. I spent tons of money. I did like 6 ads, and I staged the home, and they were honestly the most rotten people, and they ended up firing me. But I learned a few lessons from it. Everything's documented, like all the threats and everything else that they sent over. I've got it all in writing. I never, ever once responded to it. I chose not to engage in like that kind of meanness. And they would make up complete fabrications that aren't true, like saying, I don't know, for example, agents don't want to work with you because you're so annoying because you call them for feedback 10 minutes after they show, which is obviously, how would they even know that? But it was completely fabricated. Anyway, long story short, the learning for me is make sure you always do your job. Like everything they asked, I still did it, even though I knew they were ridiculous. But in the back of my mind, I just always would say to myself, you know what, don't give them any reason to think you're not doing your job. So as a result, they wanted to cancel the contract. And normally if people were nice and it was just like, this isn't working, I seriously would walk away because it's just not worth it. But these people were so, I didn't even know people like this existed, if I'm being completely honest. They were so rotten and they were so threatening and just, they just tried to bully me into getting their way. I'm holding them to the contract. So it's off market, and I basically gave them, options. I said, here's the cost associated. You can pay this and I'll sever your contract, or you can put it back on, or we can just wait until July. Anyway, they had another agent call me because they'd interviewed somebody, of course, the very next night, a discount agent, which is hilarious because they think I'm a bad agent, but yet they're going to hire a discount agent. But I don't know. The learning for me was always do your job 100% so that no one can ever come back and say, you didn't do. Because if this had gone to mediation, 1,000% I will win because I can prove 1,000 times how much I did my job and more. That said, it doesn't hurt any less to feel like such a failure that somebody doesn't think you're doing a good job because their house is overpriced. So it's a huge bummer, and it did make me sad, but it is what it is, and we can't help that, I suppose.
No.
They just
But I
want
always
to save money.
No, they were. Well, the problem, and here's the problem. We all know why it's not selling, right? And it's price. Well, they just wanted more money. And then when they can have it, then they're going to blame everybody else, right?
Yeah,
So,
I was blamed for everything.
They're a victim. So just a victim, and that's all there is to it, right? So, and that's all. And so the lesson, like she said, make sure you do your job. The real key is make sure you document your job, right? I mean, that to me is the real key.
Yes, do it and document it, correct.
Right. Documenting it that way, like you said, you can always go back to them and go, here's all the documentation of everything. But that's one. In the event, if you had to go to arbitration or mediation and fight over the contract, then you would, like you said, you would win. So that said, so to me, that's the real lesson right there, right? Is to have everything documented so that you can, you can go back. But so the thing is, it was overpriced. So let's talk about that for a minute. You have to have a system, right? You have to have a system to get the price reductions. And when should you start, and that system basically boils down to this. When you're and you should do this for every listing, because sometimes sometimes this is priced great and it doesn't sell and you're like, huh. And sometimes you're like, oh, that's pretty high. And bang, you get like 5 offers in the first couple of days. You're like, huh, didn't see either one of those coming, right? Either example. So the system is you have to have a communication regimen in place, right? And then you need to be able to make sure you get an email every time your lockbox is open so that you can track how many times it's been shown. You use the MLS statistical reports. There's also List Track. List Track is part of MLS to log into your List Track account. So when you log into the MLS homepage, it's got like Cloud CMA, List Track, Remind. Excuse me. So you go to List Track, find your particular listing, and it'll have all kinds of statistics you can use, and then you can present those. So you need to be able to present those statistics, and then also we have a home feedback system that you have to go to tools.aubreyassociates.com and set up your profile, and then once you set up your profile, then you have to log into your super account, and I don't know how to do it from the phone, but if you log in from the online portion of it, and then you have to, all the instructions are on the website, and tools.aubreyassociates, and look at feedback. Then what happens is when someone opens your lockbox, and then you also have to make sure that you set your lockbox to the MLS number. So when you take a listing and you get the MLS number, you log into the super account, assign the lockbox to that MLS number, and then that way when someone opens up their lockbox, they're going to receive an email asking for feedback. Okay, and if they give you feedback, there's a way to show the sellers that feedback information. So it has to be part of your listing setup process. But the idea is you have to have, and then a weekly email. And you ask the seller on the listing appointment, how, after they sign the contract, how do you want me to report to you on a weekly basis, right? And you let them know on a weekly basis. Okay, I can send you an email, but I will send you an email. Would you like to talk as well on the phone? If they say no, email's fine, but you need to send them an email every week. Look, here are the statistics, right, of the home being showed. It'll actually show you stats for comparable homes, how many times they've been viewed online. So that's pretty cool. And in Robin's particular case, where her listing was shown or viewed considerably more than all the competition. So they were getting
more than half.
Right. I mean, it was considerable. So, but the idea is when you have a system set up in the beginning and you start sending emails every week, right? And then also in that email and part of that system and that conversation is, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, there's 3 things we can control. And that is exposure. And if you look at the statistics, obviously exposure, we're having a lot of exposure. I mean, we're being exposed more than all the competition, right? So then the next thing is we control is the condition of the home. And your home is in very nice condition unless you plan on making any more features and benefits to the home, are you? And you say it in a very doubting, you're not going to do that tonality, so that they say, well, no, we're not going to do that. Well, then the third issue is price. That's the only thing we can control. So we have great condition and we have great exposure. So price is the only thing left because those are the only things we control. What we don't control is the competition, the motivation of the competition. We don't control the market. We don't control the rates. We don't control the weather. We can only control exposure, condition, and price. So, and then you send that email out every week, follow up with a phone call. By the 3rd week, if they're motivated, they'll actually start talking about a price adjustment to you. And then you do it again. If it's not sold on the price adjustment, after a certain period of time, you still keep sending out those emails. So you have to have a system in place and where you do that. And then it's just part of because if it's overpriced, you have to get it priced correctly in order to get paid, right? So it sounds almost counterintuitive that you have to negotiate your seller to get to the correct price. And it can be a little confrontational. So, you're going to have to muster up your self-esteem pills and get in there and not take it personal. Now, Robin's case here is an extreme example. I mean, it's, I'm just going to use it for the lesson. But, I mean, there's some people that, number one, I don't know if I would have spent all the money. And sometimes you get hoodwinked. They seem so nice. And then next thing you know, it's like, whoa, somebody forgot to take their meds today. And it happens. And that's all there is to it. You just have a clash of the minds. But the key, though, is to have a system in place so that you can start going after the price adjustment the first week you have the listing. So that way you don't get, 45 days into the thing and you have an irate seller that starts coming unglued and then everything's your fault. Because everything's going to be your fault. Because remember, there's major life events that are taking place. People don't move because they're bored, right? People move because there's a major life event taking place. So they already have situations going on in their life. Now they have all the rigmarole of a real estate transaction that can be very, very painful to begin with. And if things aren't going good, then they're really, really upset and just start, and not everybody handles that in an appropriate adult manner. And so you just have to be prepared. But again, if you have all that system in place, it's really hard for them to say anything but, you've been doing a great job. So does that make sense? So
yes. One thing I'll add to that, I do have a system in place that's not as good as Rob's system. I kind of will follow up within the first 24 hours of a showing. And what I typically do, and this is where I say I document everything, I like when agents text me back the feedback because then I literally just copy and paste it.
Right.
But one of my learnings, and I like that idea of maybe a weekly feedback system, is because what would happen was every single piece of feedback they got, it was like, okay, if somebody said we have a small kitchen, oh, it's your fault because you put this kitchen table in our kitchen. And then somebody else would say it when they'd say, oh, it's because you only put 4 bar stools in our kitchen and it doesn't show that we can have 6. Like it became, but then it was like that feedback because it was, you know, within 24 hours of a showing, it made it really easy. Somehow she associated the feedback with my opinion of the home, which wasn't at all the case. But it was just a lesson that some sellers can't handle feedback on their house. You know what I mean? And so maybe a weekly one, so it's all in one, but it's just once a week. That is kind of a good idea, especially what's that?
And that way you're not beating them up on a daily basis, because if they handle it, I personally think there was other things going on. So Robin and I had several conversations about this. There were some things going on we weren't aware of, and I had my suspicions. But a weekly thing is, so you can talk to them about feedback during, but you still want to have that weekly email so that you can document everything that happened. I had a situation like that where it was a divorce, and the ex-husband, or soon-to-be ex-husband, whatever, he thought we were all in collusion together to lower the price and rip him off. Meaning his soon-to-be ex-wife, the attorney, and myself, where I was able to generate a report and send it to the attorney, where the attorney sent it to their attorney, and that was the end of that conversation. We had so much information, how many showings, every time we adjusted the price, we had this and that, you know, and this when it crashed too. I mean, it was a 7-8 month listing. I wound up never even getting a sale out of it. I got screwed out of that, but anyway, still the same thing. She was a victim, and then plus it was a divorce. So, but anyway, so I'm going to read something. So, you know, all know the book of 4 agreements, because Robin this really hit Robin hard, because she spent a couple $1,000 staging this home, bent over backwards for these people. And, you know, obviously there was something amiss. But if you look at the second agreement, right, don't take anything personally, right? Nothing others do is because of you. What others say and do is a projection of their own reality, their own dream. When you are immune to it's supposed to be opinions, they said option, to the opinions and actions of others, you won't be the victim of need suffering. Now, Robin's not a victim, but I mean, she did take it hard. So, because the way they attacked her, I mean, it started to wear on her. But now, am I saying that anybody on this call would have been able to have been immune to their attacks? Probably not. But, and again, this is an extreme example, this particular situation. Under normal circumstances, you just got to let people go. You got to remember, wigging out, because they got a lot of other stuff going on. Now, I'm not excusing the behavior. These people were pretty. They needed some counseling. That's for sure. So
they're just mean.
Yeah.
Straight up mean.
Yeah, there's definitely a clash of the personalities. Personalities is how I would phrase it on a recorded call. So anyway, hint, hint. So anyway, but that's it. So I mean, that's the lesson there. You have to have, because things are softening up a hair in certain price points, but because they are softening up a little bit here, and you just have to be able to have a system in place. And you should use that system every listing regardless, because if you get an offer in the first 10 days, well, it doesn't matter. You only sent one email. No big deal. In other words, if you start getting 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 showings within a few days, well, the odds are great you're not going to have to do any more work than just get it under contract. But you should have your process in place. Don't wait. You can't wait till you need the process to start building the process. Start learning those little systems now. Start creating your system now. Don't wait till you need it. Have the system in place. That way, because like a price adjustment is like a brand new listing, right? It just is. It's like a brand new listing. Oh, we shouldn't have that page. So we're on this page. Anyway, for those who are still looking. So any other questions? Because I'm going to have to end this call here in about 2 minutes. I have a 9:30 coaching call that I have to get on. my coaching call is on Monday, and because Monday was a holiday, I have a group call with a different coach today at 9:30. So, any questions?
No, but have a great day. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. Have a good one, everybody. So if you need anything, pay attention. I'm going to be sending out some emails. There's a lot of things that are happening here. So we're going to send emails, and I'll let you know. Okay. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Rob. Thank you.
Bye.